Hey guys, welcome back to the Lou Perez Podcast on the Lions of Liberty Podcast Network. This is a very special episode, special event, because I am joined by my guest, Hatem Gabber, who is the host of the Live from America podcast. So, what you are getting right now is the Lou Perez Podcast and the Live from America podcast broadcast into your head or ears or whatever. How was that, Hatem? I know
That's
you're going to
awesome.
goof on me either way. There's nothing I could do. There's nothing I could do. Nothing I could say that's good enough for my friend Hatem.
No, no, I love it. I love when we do a podcast together and kind of like one of Law and Order episodes where they got Chicago PD too,
Oh, I didn't know that they did that.
Yeah, once in a while they'll do like a crossover. So
Yeah, your hair's looking really good.
thanks. I showered for this podcast.
Yeah,
Mhm.
nice. I often find that my hair looks better when I don't shower.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah. All right, everybody. Now everybody's up to date on where we are. There's a lot of stuff that's happened in the world, a lot of fun stuff, a lot of interesting stuff. We happen to be in the month where Ramadan is being celebrated. And Hatem, my friend, is a practicing Muslim. So what's it been like this Ramadan season?
Well,
Is this the best one compared to the other
well,
2,000 years?
I always like the season premiere of Ramadan was the best one, but I mean Ramadan, or as American called it, intermittent fasting, is a very healthy and beautiful month where you celebrate so many things. It's kind of like you really get to know yourself in terms of discipline, compassion, family time, stuff like that. The idea is a lot of us don't, you know, really feel hungry or thirsty, and we're lucky for that. When somebody tell you I'm hungry, you can understand, but not really. But when you practice Ramadan and you like discipline yourself, not just from food or drinks or but everything else, you become a better person and you can understand, and usually you give more. So I really, really enjoy it and like it. Makes you control your temper, everything. It's a beautiful month.
How long does the fasting last? Is it from sun up to sundown?
Yeah, from sunset to sundown. But
Are you allowed to have water?
no, nothing. So no food, no drinks, nothing at all. Just complete fasting. That's why I say when somebody say I'm thirsty, you really understand what they say.
Yeah.
And also it's more than just the food and drink part. It's also the discipline part. Like you can't just be fast and in a bad mood and cursing everybody and doing. You're supposed to be doing good. You're supposed to help as much as you can, give as much as you can. And that's for a month.
Yeah, I think there was a fighter, Khabib Nurmagomedov, and I think that he had at least one fight during the month of Ramadan, or his training leading up to his fight took place during Ramadan, and I just can't even imagine that, like being like training for a mixed martial arts fight or having a mixed martial arts fight and having to fast, like
Yeah.
no water, and then the big meal at the end of the night.
I'll give you one more. Like there's few NFL players during the preseason, and if you ever been in a preseason, NFL, especially football, is the hardest preseason. Because it's meant to, especially in a preseason, it's meant to break you. Make sure that you're tough enough, especially for new kids coming in and all that. So there's a few of them that did the whole preseason fasting. Usually there's a lot of at that level. Somebody like Habib or like any professional footballer or basketballer or whatever, you have enough help of nutritionists that design program for you. Like I remember Habib's program. I remember the NFL program. They will overload them at night with a lot of things. So, still it's very hard for them to do. And it's especially when people like that do it and play. Some people play in the World Cup during or the Premier League during fasting. And now in England, in the Premier League, they have a fasting break during the game. So, like at a certain point, whenever the sun go down, they stop for people to eat some stuff and stuff.
With the players start eating stuff
Mm-hmm.
on the sideline, yeah.
Yeah, usually they just give you like a something very nutritious and some water. So like a mixed drink and like dates or something like that, just to give you a lot of. And it's not a whole full meal, but
I'm just thinking about the calorie count. I mean, if you're, I'm not an athlete, and I I eat like, maybe like 2,600 calories. If I work out, maybe over 3,000. I mean, you got guys who are just burning through that, in almost like a sitting, right? So if you have like someone who's getting like normally like 10,000 calories, like, as would somebody like a bicyclist or something like that, that's a different level of hunger,
Yeah.
right? Than a normal person would do.
And the athlete are known for discipline, so that's a major discipline. But how many people actually in the world, like in Sudan or Gaza or Congo, or like so all around the world, it's not that only Ramadan, they don't have food at all.
Right.
So yeah, it's a month that it's about appreciation, like I said, discipline, giving back, understanding, all that.
Yeah. This is my first year that I'm doing Lent. And I gave up beef, and I told my wife, and she's like, "Yeah, but you don't really eat beef anyway." So I'm like, "Okay, I'm kind of all right. I'm a lazy, sacrifice.
That's cheating.
Yeah, I know. It's like
Yeah,
you have
but
to give up
when we
something,
do like a to-do list, and I already have like the first three things I already done.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Um, well, one thing I wanted to talk to you about, because you're in New York. I know for the past like 4 years or so, there have been public prayer, Muslim prayer in, I believe, Times Square. And I thought it was something that when I heard about it, I'm like, part of me was like, oh, this must have been happening for a long time. And then another part was like, oh, wow, it's only been happening for like 4 years. Um, but there was like this controversy about, dogs in the city and stuff. So apparently, like someone had said, like, I believe she was a Muslim woman, said, I want to get rid of dogs, and then people were like, "Fuck you, I like dogs." So then you had a representative in Congress saying, "You got to choose. If you had to choose between dogs and Muslims, which way would you choose?" And my friend Hatem is lucky I don't like dogs because but and then so that all it's coming together where there was, I think, like a plan for like people with dogs to disrupt the prayer service in Times Square. I don't think it happened, right? Oh,
No, it did not, and it's just a funny story. So it's another one of those stories that you know people with no information will do. So some dogs is like, oh my god, they hit my dog. I'm gonna go and do this, and someone's like, you know, it's a funny story, but it's again, it comes from a lack of understanding. And to be honest with you, like right now, I don't say it anymore like people don't understand things, because it's one click away from getting any story that you want and the truth about anything, especially like if you get something like Chat GBT, it was like, a little bit like, say, like not like news, but will kind of give you facts, So no, first, the prayer thing. I've been in New York forever, most of my life, and it went from people not knowing what Ramadan is to people really appreciate Ramadan, and sometimes like not even drinking or eating in front of you. And sometimes friends will fast with you. It's like, hey, let's fast and eat together later on, and stuff like that. So it really changed, which is one of the great things about New York, is like whatever community you're part in, the whole city want to be part of. You celebrate everything. We kind of celebrate everything. So the prayers thing. So there's in Muslim, obviously we pray 5 times. There's two major prayer. One is Fridays, kind of like Sunday church is like Friday, and one is especially in Ramadan, where it's like you just do some prayers. So they started in Times Square a few years back, and it's been amazing. And since it started, people that just hate the fact that people are happy or doing something like what New York is defined by, which is culture. They just want to come in. I remember they came and say like, "Oh, you cannot have alcohol. You cannot pray in a place where there was alcohol before. So let's ban alcohol from Times Square. We cannot." I don't know if you heard this story before,
no.
because suppose like you cannot pray if there's like if there's a liquor there, or was liquor there, which is again not
Oh,
true.
so you can never pray around me because there's always
You see, that's what I'm saying. Is like, so people keep saying if anybody wanted to say that the relationship with dogs and Islam, you find that animals in general are in high place in the religion and respect. There's a story about the Prophet said that one lady was herding a cat, and she was a devoted Muslim. She's going to hell. She's not going to heaven because the way she treated her cat. There's a big story in Quran about a dog,
Even in the Quran, they shit on cat ladies.
Yeah. No, it's actually for the cat ladies. But I mean, in the Quran, there's a very story of like 7 people with a dog. I mean, the dog is for protection, for guidance, for help, for it was used in war. There's a lot of times in wars that while they're praying, their dogs protect. I mean, so this is coming out of nowhere. So it's funny. I enjoy when people just try to divide things, and all you have to do is just to click. But I tell you what, if there's people show up with, first of all, I usually say dogs owners overall are cool people. I love dogs, so I'll take a place. So I don't think they will show up and just what are you gonna do? Walk through with a dog? Yeah. It's okay. Yeah, some of the people there have dogs, and they put them on the side while they're praying. It's crazy,
Well,
but it's funny.
it's one of those things that, like you said, you have like all this information at the tip of your fingers. And when I started hearing about this stuff, obviously, I'm making jokes about it and all that. But then I start looking at the actual complaints about dogs in the city, right? And one of the complaints is the snow melts and there's dog shit everywhere, right? Which, look, I agree. I don't like dog shit being everywhere. Then there's another one of people like bringing their dogs onto the subway and not having them in their bags or whatever. And it's like, I agree, so it's sort of like, if people want to make it like, I don't know, like kind of a religious war kind of thing. I'm like, I don't know. I think Islam has a pretty good idea about, about what you should be doing with dogs, clean up your shit and then put them in a bag when they're on the subway.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's like the culture of complaining and fighting, when it finds its way to a community, which every community have it. But I always say this story. I was somewhere in Indonesia. I don't remember where, but there was this secret temple in the middle of the water. And whatever there's low tide, you see the temple. And when there's high tide, you don't see the temple. So people will line up to go to the temple when they're low tide. But for some reason they believe that you have to cover your legs. So they have like a kind of like skirt thing, and everybody have to cover the legs to go to see the temple. And because of everybody want to take a TikTok on Instagram, nobody complains. Everybody put it on. Nobody said it's stupid. Nobody said anything. They just do what the people there believe. And that's what you should do. Like wherever you go, you believe in something, you do it. And try to understand it. Don't just come. I like, it's like, why do I have to wear this? I'm not wearing this. I'm not, So, try to understand the culture and respect where people coming from and not change them, But yeah, the dogs thing is ridiculous,
Yeah. How many more days for Ramadan?
It just started. This is, I think it's 5th or 6th day. So still what long way to go. But this is actually when Ramadan comes in the winter, it's very nice because imagine when it's really, really hot, in the summer. So, and also, the sunset to sundown is like not too long. So.
Nice.
There are some countries like, in the Scandinavian countries.
Shit. Yeah. What are you going to do?
They fast for like 19 hours, but they have a break. They have like, this is the things about like Ramadan. Like there's so many breaks in Islam. If you have this, you don't, like, I am sick, I have to take medication, I don't have to do it. So there's a lot of things like that where people don't, not religiously just do anything, So, but it's really funny when I always tell people, it's like, in Iceland or whatever, it's like, it's 22 hours of fasting, I think, out of 24.
Oh man, that's where the real like hardcore.
Yeah, take the Muslim Brotherhood there. Let's see what they're gonna do.
Yeah, they're gonna be so pissed off, man.
They're like, you know what? We're not that Muslim, brother.
Yeah, we're not that Muslim. Like, what do we? Yeah, what do
I always have this theory. Is like whenever there's an organization that put Muslim in the name, is usually far away from Muslim Brotherhood, ISIS, ISIL, all of them.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like what's the North Korea, what's the People's Republic of,
exactly. It's usually the opposite.
Yeah. Well, so we just I don't know if you guys can hear my kids running around, but the Olympics just ended. Were you able to watch the Winter Olympics?
I'm an athlete, so I love these things.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Hatem was a professional soccer player, and he also got to represent the United States in the what
World Cup, Transplant World Cup in Italy. I was the team captain.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know,
soccer,
Transplant World Cup are for every single player on that team has a transplant of some sort. Hatem has had a heart transplant we're coming on 6 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Like,
So basically, it's any professional player that have a transplant or cannot in a dangerous setting of performing in a professional level in a regular, but it used to be. So they would get us together and have a bunch of doctors around, and and each country, it's just as good and as amazing, and everybody's obviously is even more competitive because these people survived a lot. So it's amazing. But I had the honor to represent the U.S. I was in Team USA and I was the captain. And it was, and I tell you, like, one of the things is, like, we had a game actually in 9/11, and that game meant a lot to everybody that was there and players, and we managed to win the game even though the odds were against us. But yeah.
who'd you beat on 9/11?
Wills.
Oh, Wales. Okay. Who were behind 9/11? I think I want to remind everybody the Welsh.
Or the Welsh was behind it. Yeah, what's interesting is, like, me for being from the Middle Eastern background, and like the captain of Team USA in 9/11, and I was standing. We have the the moment of silence, and they asked me also if I want to say something in the mic. I was like, what did I say? Sorry. It's kind of odd, that people, like, especially like you in Italy, in Europe, and all the people from different nations looking and they expecting something different a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, I love sports.
I would imagine that the best team would be Turkey because they would just have players who have hair transplants. It's just
I think it had to be an organ transplant. Actually, Chile won that World Cup, and Spain came second.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It's awesome, and not to take anything away from it, but I want every single one of those players on the winning team to be tested. Because you know how it is with sports, man. People cheat. You're like, yeah, I got it's not my heart. Yeah,
what's interesting. I mean, I think me and 4 more in the whole tournament was heart. Most of the people were liver or kidney or stuff like that. But what's interesting to your point is, and I think it was really funny. So after the games, when we do the recovery and we go to the pool or sauna or ice bath or whatever, so everybody, all the teams are in the village, and we all, obviously in shorts. And we all are cut from the surgery, so it looks like a war zone, like we are in a camp or something and being tortured because we all have cuts everywhere from the surgery. So if you see somebody with no cut, it's like, you're cheating.
You guys are like, you're like science experiments, kind of.
Exactly. That's exactly what I said. It's like, are we like in the back of a lab or something? It's like, but it's very, and that life. This is one of the things about back to the Olympics or like the World Cup or like any events that involved sports, is like when all the nations get together and live in the village, either the Olympic village or the hotels or whatever area that in that culture exchange is so good. And I don't know if most of the time, I'm not gonna say that this isn't happening in the World Cup when I play, but most of the time people sleep together, like athletes sleep together, because everybody's like in a great shape and they're like so stressed. So you feel, I don't know if there's actually in every Olympic village, there's so many condom machines because there's like people just fuck.
I'll tell you what, if there's one class of people that I don't want wearing condoms, it's Olympians, because I'm like, have those babies, man.
But they fucking each other. So you don't want super Olympian. You want,
that's right, because
regular people.
Oh yeah, because they'll come together and be like, the shot putter from France and the shot putter from Iceland, and they're like, "What are you doing? You're giving the the advantage to the offspring." There was a Canadian goaltender, Martin Brodeur, I believe it was, and he was a fantastic NHL player, and I think they won the World Cup at least. They won the Olympics at least one time, and something that he had said, speaking about the villages, the Olympic villages, he's like, look, you guys are all NHL players, and this is going to be like the only time where you're back to living like you were in college, like with roommates and stuff, and you're in the village where everybody knows who you are because you're a professional athlete. He's like, take the opportunity to go up to people and talk to them and find out who they are, because they're going to be weird. They're not going to be as comfortable coming up to you because you're a professional athlete.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, you also the food, obviously you have your own chefs, you have your own, program and stuff like that. Nobody follows up, but I don't know. But it's just like the culture. Like when I was in Italy, I made sure to like reach out to like and go and talk to people, even that if there's a language barrier. It's just like the sports and stuff, and you see how people act things. It's just like it's amazing, a really amazing feeling to represent a country or be part of this.
Yeah. So I didn't get to watch the men's championship yet because I was driving back. I was opening for Rob Schneider at Magooby's in Maryland.
I heard 4 sold out shows, right?
Five
You
sold
added
out.
more. Oh, nice.
Yeah, there were so originally there were 4. They sold out, and then they added an early show on Saturday, so a 4:15 show. So we did a 4:15, 7:30, and a 9:30. So 3
Nice.
shows in one day. And then the next morning I was heading back to New Jersey, and there was going to be like a snowstorm, so I had to go early. And so while I was driving, that's when the men were playing, and when they won. And at some point in my drive, I was able to listen to Jack Hughes. It was like post game interview, and it's after he had lost. Like, he got a tooth knocked out. He got a tooth knocked out. He won the game winning goal in overtime, and he gave this impassioned, beautiful speech about I love my country. The brotherhood of American hockey is so great that I was driving and I'm actually getting tears in my eyes listening to it. And I hadn't even seen the game yet.
Well, you all usually have tears in your eyes.
Yeah, that is true. I'm usually just a big blubbery pussy, just going. But it's sort of in the aftermath of them winning. I started reading more about Jack and Quinn, who are brothers, and they have another brother, Luke, who plays in the NHL. And these young guys are I can't think of better ambassadors for the sport and also the country. Like it was a real prideful moment, and something that I think I would hope that everybody was able to put aside bullshit. Of course not, but like in that moment, and especially seeing that picture of him with his teeth knocked out in the USA jersey draped over him. I told my wife, I'm like, we're hanging that up. We got to get that in the house. And I used to play hockey as a kid, and man, it was just such a cool feeling to see that in another person. So.
Yeah, I mean, that game and that tournament, especially hockey, I think when you are as a country, as the United States, when you are in the sports that you're not dominating and then
Right.
you win it, it's huge. It's kind of like the Miracle in Ice, thing back in the day. It's just like when all the odds are against you, and that's always a comeback. The comeback, the underdog. That's what sports is. The best stories is about. You never watch a movie where they just win and they go home. It's like no, they have to lose and build and have fights together and build something. And so that's what it's about. So for that, not to take away from like sports where we dominating, like say basketball, even though we're not as dominant as before, but the original Dream Team, it was more of a showcase than anything else. For this to come that far and for them to play, and if again, one of the best saying is when they say back the team that played hockey in Miracle on Ice, if you played for the letters in the front, they will remember the name in the back. If you play for your country, and this is one of the things that I always feel that it's missing here. When you grow up anywhere else, there's always this big dream of playing professional, but to represent your country. I don't think that's very big here in certain sports, because we first of all say you played the Yankees versus the Phillies, and he's like the world champion, but you haven't played anybody else. To represent your country is a great honor, and I don't see that except in individual players. So it only happened really in the Olympics and then a World Cup kind of setting. But the rest of the time, kids don't grow up being like, oh, I want to play for the Lakers. I want to play for the Knicks. That I never hear anybody say like, I want to play for Team USA for basketball. So that culture actually is in hockey. and in soccer, but in hockey a little bit more here, maybe in women's soccer here too, but not men as much. So to have that, to your point, is amazing. Of course, people are gonna jump in and try to divide, and it's like you put politics in the middle. But that what he was talking about, also the story that they dedicated. You remember about the guy that
Yeah, do you want to talk about that just a little bit?
one of their teammates, team captain, and he had a car accident, with his brother while biking a few months back, and died.
They were biking. I think it was like, I don't know if it was like a day before or the same day. His sister was supposed to get married, killed by a drunk driver.
Yeah. And since then, they've been carrying his jersey, and even that's what he said in the post interview. Is like he was the best player that played in this game, and he wasn't in the game, But this is what I'm talking about when you talk about a culture, about a team, about a country. It's bigger, the individuals come and go, but the bigger picture. So I think that culture managed to happen in the hockey team. They managed to do that, and also, like I said before, a few times in the women's soccer team, like where you find that you can tell when somebody's playing for themselves or playing for the professional career or for the country. So for them to play that, the only thing ruined it for me was for Patel being there.
Let's talk about that. I definitely want to talk about that in just a little bit. I just want to say about the player who died so tragically. They had this incredible moment at the end of the game where they went and they brought his two of his children out to take the team picture with him. And it was such a moving part. And to give credit to the women. I mean, some of those goals were so nasty, like the skill levels are. It's almost like I'm watching a different game than I played when I was a kid. Like what they're able to do, the men and the women, is pretty amazing. So yeah, you have all these really great moments of excellence and triumph and patriotism and all that, and then there's a little jarring thing of here's the head of the FBI in the locker room. I don't know what relationship he has with him. I don't know if he forced his way in.
He's a huge hockey fan.
Yeah. Okay.
But there's nothing like seeing somebody that not in shape drinking beer with everybody else in shape. And he definitely belongs. He looks like me in Team USA in the World Cup. Let's put it this way. He doesn't belong in this group. But yeah, go ahead.
But yeah. So he was in the locker room, and then I guess that leads to one of the other controversial moments where the guys get a phone call from President Trump. So I had posted about this. President Trump, I thought he had a lot of really fun things to say. The guys were getting a kick out of him. I think he made a bad move with a joke about he had said, I want to invite you guys to the State of the Union, and made a joke about, I guess we could invite the women team or what, or something like that, which I thought was kind of a cheap thing to play, to say. I think he could have played it really well by saying, like, just the line of, you guys were great. We got to invite the women too, because they were fantastic. And you both represent our country so well and so proudly. We got to get everybody together. And then I said, if he wanted to make a joke, he could have made a joke about, maybe we can get you guys to breed together to make a super hockey team. If he wanted to make a joke, but it's one of those things where, obviously anyone who hates Trump is going to glom onto that, and it's going to, sour the rest of it. It didn't sour the rest of the call or the players. I thought, here you have young men who played the fucking game of their lives. They're pounding back beer. They're excited. They get a call from the fucking president. Like, I don't care. I don't know where they stand politically, but they could have gotten a call from Biden. They could have got a call from Obama, whoever the president was, and they would have been stoked and laughed along with whatever jokes and all that. So I feel like, criticism for Trump and what he said. Okay, I can see that, but to kind of go after the guys, like, how dare they not, stop the phone call and say, that's not funny, Mr. President, or blah, blah, blah. It's like, come on, man. What are you doing?
Yeah, first of all, all presidents done it. Like every president called during after the game. Biden called the women's when they won the World Cup. Uh, Obama called. Every president called the U.S. And I want to explain something. And just like I hope people again take their political affiliation ahead and just like they're sharpen their knives. Okay, you play for your country. Okay, so you and me are representing the U.S. It's a battle. We're getting knocked out. We're killing each other. We beyond tired. We do everything, and the things that keep you going if you're playing for a national team is your pride, your and that and playing for others. Kind of like the guy that passed away. That's why this team is a team, because when you play for something bigger than you, it becomes that. So the representation of the country is the flag, the president, that so at that moment, we as them as a team, they say we has just put the name of the US up there. Not the Republicans, not the Democrats, not MAGA, no one, just USA, the whole country, the pride, the name. And I might say we were the underdogs. It's not that they were, the favorites. So that's you get so when you see the flag, and that's why I always had a problem with kneeling to the flag, by the way. And the other thing, so you see the flag, that's what gets the emotions. You hear the national anthem, that's what you get the emotion. That's what reminds you this is what you're playing for. And you will remember every single person that you ever cross road with, even the street. You remember they lock their eyes and you think they're telling you, that you are the best and thank you and all that. And then you get a call from somebody, not at this moment is not Trump or Biden or Obama. At this moment, it's the president of the United States.
Mm.
So of course you will be like, and remember, you have so much emotions building up to that game, and you just finish the game and you get that call. So this is all built in. It's not like, all of us sitting in our pajamas having popcorn and drinking whatever and saying like, oh, this is what they should have done, or no. And there's a protocol, so I don't take it. But it's interesting to me that even in the Olympics there's this political like a MAGA versus non-MAGA, a Republican versus Democrat. Like some athlete will come in and it's like, I have a tough time playing for the US, while this going on, and others is like, I love the US, and they're both winning, but
Yeah,
it's two different things.
yeah. And something I realized too, when President Trump called them, he was very funny throughout the whole thing. I mean, he was cracking jokes. He's like, "Oh, that goalie! Oh man, that goalie!" And like saying like, I forget who he was kind of messing with, like, "You almost missed it," or something like,
Yeah.
So it was like joke, light, light.
And
And then I'm going to say that then he says the joke about, the women's team. So it's all a part. It's not like it was a very standard, straightforward,
yeah, and this
straight
is the
thing.
thing is like about Trump, like again, you like him or you don't like him, this is up to you. I disagree with a lot of what he does.
Mhm.
But there's one thing about him, obviously he's entertaining. But in that call, he showed the players that he actually watched the game. Not
Yeah,
only
he was
watched the game,
excited.
he was rooting for the game.
Yeah.
And I think this is what, again, back to like when he did the Joe Rogan interview and talked to people, thought he was real. It's just actually not acting versus a lot of politicians acting. So he actually was watching. I remember Biden when he was calling the women's team in, after they beat Japan like 3-0, and he's like, "Put me on, coach. Put me in, coach. Put me in." They always, you feel like your president is rooting for you, is just a fan. You're bigger than him at that point, but they believed him because he was being real. He actually watched the game. Like you said, he was talking about the goalie. He was, oh, what a goalie. And
Yeah.
so it's different when people actually root for you. People can tell if you're bullshitter or not,
Yeah.
but obviously his comments, again, he's from New York, and his comments are awful always. Like he have to fuck it up somehow.
Exactly. It's tough. Like, because you've lived in New York for forever. It's like he's a type of guy. He's a type of New Yorker who he's a ball buster, and that's and that's how it is. And I wasn't keeping I wasn't keeping track of the whole Olympics. I remember hearing about some some of the athletes having coming out and saying, basically, they don't support what Donald Trump is doing. And then other athletes kind of saying like, I don't want to comment on this stuff, um, and I remember I think there was one of the guys on like the curling team who had something to say, and I was thinking of a joke about it, and I said, because the curler had like a problem, I guess, with what ice was doing, and I said, he's got to be careful because his sport is played with a broom, so it's so easy to get an illegal, from Ecuador to come and take his spot, and then if that happens, we'll see what he thinks about ice. But
you know what's funny is like, first of all, I don't know how Trump has the time to comment on the fucking Emmys, the Oscars, and he watch all of them. I don't know
yeah,
how he does that, But to me, when there's somebody that just won the gold medal and Trump tweets, "What a fucking loser!" It's like he just won the gold medal. But listen, to me, the way I see it is, again, I want to explain the part of about kneeling to the flag just a little bit so people can understand. When I judge this, I go, and I said that before, I go with four things. It's like the cause, the purpose. So you're complaining about racism in America. I agree with that. Second is like, where do you do it? During the game. I agree with that because you bring in a lot of attention. Three, when do you do it? During the national anthem? I don't agree with that. I think you should do it in the game before the game starts or at moment in the game, but you also representing the flag and the national anthem that let you speak that way or represent a lot of good things. When athlete comes in the Olympics, there's different ones. There's one that says, I don't agree with a lot of things that happened in the US with ICE. I agree with that. I think they should do. They have a platform, they should talk about it. But I have a problem with somebody who say like, I have a problem representing the US. Well, then don't fucking go.
And don't do it. Yeah.
Why are you here? Then you're telling us that you're doing this for yourself. So use a platform to advocate for the right things and what's wrong, and people will know. Is like, if I was there, I would be like, listen, I'm honored to be part of the Team USA, and that's why I'm allowed to speak. Other than a lot of people like North Korea, and you just like give them the wink, wink. North Korea can say shit, I can, and I want to criticize ICE. I want to criticize the racism. I want to criticize that. And that's why, because I love my country and I'm able to, and that's why I'm representing this country, because it allows me to do it. But don't say I don't want to represent. I'm have a tough time representing. Don't fucking go then.
Yeah. Or you could do the thing and you get paid by the Chinese, millions of dollars to go and ski for them, like Eileen Gu, who I said it's the first time in history that China bought something that was made in the USA.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. I think we're gonna disagree on that one, but yeah, go ahead. Tell me what's your opinion.
What's your take on that?
Well, I mean, first of all, she is an amazing athlete, an amazing role model, So what people don't know, or maybe they know, but it's not covered a lot in the media, is like it is a thing of people representing other countries. It's not like unknown that you can represent other countries or athletes. So for example, right now in this Olympics, there's the Team USA about 230 people, 232. There is about 7 of them that were not born in the US, and there's 31 of them that's sons of immigrants, so that's about 25% of the team, almost not. And I think there's 4 or 5 that's they're not, their hometown is somewhere else. So there's about 25% that came from somewhere else eventually, and they play. Also in the Olympics, because the rules is different than soccer. Like soccer, if you represent a country when you were 17 or 18, you cannot change the country. In the Olympics, you just have to skip one circle. So a lot of countries will, especially take athletes from China, from Russia, from Africa. They will skip one circle and then they get them. So it's known. The way she said she wanted to play for China was not for the money. Obviously, her dad spent a lot of money on her, about $1 million, they say.
Well, she doesn't know. I don't think we know
her mom. I mean,
yeah.
But I think that what she said, that she can influence more girls around the world, but she wanted to influence people in China as well. So I don't think her representation was. And she said, in an interview, is like, if that was another country, if I was, she went to represent, any other country other than China, because it's, it's controversial, people will not have a problem with it.
Well. So a couple of things. One, um, Americans aren't going to, be in an uproar over, the children of immigrants playing for America, or foreign nationals who come here and become American citizens or representing us. You're representing the U.S., right? And it's sort of similar to, there was another Chinese American girl who in figure skating, and everyone, was it Lou? I believe her last name was. And
I'm sure it's Lou. It's kind of like
it might be
Muhammad.
Lou.
It's kind of like Muhammad in
Yeah,
Islam.
yeah. It's like, yeah, there's a really good chance it was Lou. And people were like, "Oh, MAGA must hate this because she's woke." And it's like, no, like everyone's really happy because she was an awesome skater, and it when she held the flag, it was like putting the country above whatever the political stuff is. So, there's that. As far as, playing for, being an American playing for other teams, like I remember, I think it was in the 90s when they I don't know, it was like the last year that they had amateurs playing in hockey. But I think like Italy, I think most of the players in Italy were Italian Americans who, went and played. Like they couldn't make the US team, so they went and they played in Italy. But that being said, I mean, China is a very particular kind of country with, it's a one state authoritarian dictatorship, right? Um, and the influence that it has, on the world. Like there's no free speech there. I mean, one of the fun things is just being on X, getting into arguments with all of these uh shills for China, just talking about like, fuck you and your pedo loving president, and Eileen Gu is fantastic, just all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, but you need a VPN to even be having this conversation with me in China. Like you have to watch your ass in China. So I think it says something, choosing to go from what I would call the freest country in the world to represent another country that is in many ways so not free. And I think that's one of the the main issue there.
Well, then with that theory, then everybody should represent the U.S. I think what you
They couldn't. I mean, they couldn't. That's where ICE comes in. ICE makes sure that
ICE. It's funny. I think the French players said it best in a World Cup. And I'm sorry, I'm getting a lot of World Cup references, but a few World Cup ago, if you look at the French team, almost all of them are African Americans, or black.
African Frenchmen, yeah.
Yeah. So they say, a few of them said after they lost the World Cup and then they won the next one, is like, when you lose, you're an immigrant, and when you win, you're French that have a great story. So I think the way it's looked at is a little different for immigrants. I think when somebody chooses to represent a country or a concept, they are the only one that knows why they represent it. And to me, what she said about she wants the girls in China to be inspired just like the girls in the US, but she wanted to be even more. I think that's a great cause, because she didn't say, "Oh, I agree with the authority or the government or whatever."
She couldn't say that, though. But let's be real, she couldn't say that. If she doesn't agree with what China's doing, she couldn't say that.
No, but she didn't say that's what I'm representing.
No,
she didn't say I'm playing for China to. Yeah, no, I know what you're saying, but she could have just said that here, if she wanted to, But I don't think she wanted to represent China I think she wanted to represent as a culture more than anything else. I think she feels culturally that way.
Her mother, her mother being from there. Yeah, the things just get complicated though, because she's an American. She was born here. She's lived here, and I don't know what kind of rules they have about, can you have dual citizenship, or whether or not they waive that. But in a similar way of, if you don't feel comfortable representing the country, you shouldn't represent the country. I think it's similar to, well, if you don't feel comfortable representing the country, then maybe you should pick your ass up and go to the country where you feel comfortable representing, and give up nobody wants to give up the passport of the United States, though.
No, but that's the thing, is like, I don't think it's the same thing, because you can be, first of all, you can be representing something in sports that you think that you want to do. Like, if I choose to represent USA, this is because, for me, you know the values and culture, stuff like that, that's something that I align with, in my opinion. If she thinks that she wants to represent a dream for the little girls, or the culture of China, or whatever it is, my point is, like, I think we got kind of like back to the prayers and stuff. Like, people try to make you un-American if you do something, but being American is allowing people to do whatever they want. That's the best thing about what we have, so
Well, you
she
could still
doesn't.
you could still criticize, though. No,
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
for sure. No, no, you can criticize, but I'm saying, when people say,
it,
like, I saw on Twitter, like, I mean, crazy stuff. Was like, oh, why don't you just, like, they announced the citizenship? Let's just take her out. Let's deport her. Let's do this. I mean, come on, seriously. How many actually, at the most famous American Olympian was from during the Cold War. I forgot her name. Was from Russia, and she represented the United States.
well,
What
yeah,
was her name?
she was, but again, that's another
During the
case of
Cold War.
but that's a case of you're leaving a totalitarian regime, coming to the United States for freedom, and then representing that freedom. You know,
But this is the problem that I have with things like that, is like, people tend to make it only one way. So if you come this way, it's fine. But if you disagree with things, like, let's say here, like, okay, we have a lot of great things happening, but also we have a lot of bad things happening. A lot of it's the same. Like, let's talk about, like, any country that, when Russia was banned from the Olympic one time, or we didn't go.
for
This
doping,
is
right?
because of, hmm?
For doping, right?
Yeah, no, no, no. Back in the Cold War, when they're like, we can't agree. When Reagan is like, we can't agree. Was it Reagan? Well, I don't remember who was one of the president, and we boycott, the whole Olympics,
Wait, was that?
in Moscow. I think
Oh,
it was in the
yeah, I don't know.
80s or something. But anyway, so I think it's one way. The problem that I have with it is, like, it's always one way. So if people come this way, it's fine. But if it's the other way around, no. If we did something wrong, then it's fine. But if people do it to us, then it's wrong. So my point is, like, there's no one should be able to say, this is the American way. It's either this or leave it. And this is why the video I sent you is so funny. If we can,
Yeah, I don't have it.
let me see if I
Yeah.
can play.
Well,
But
so
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so a couple things. One, a couple of things that complicate things with it being China. One, she was paid a lot of money, so it wasn't. I don't think it's out of the all out of the goodness of her heart or her love for her mother's homeland, which her mom. I think it seems like if your homeland was so great, why did you come to fucking California? But whatever. That being said, but it's also about um, you know, being able to be held to account for the whatever uh, the politics, the ideology of the country that you're representing, because the same way that uh, that reporters are asking pointed questions about, what do you think about ICE and happening here? And what do you think about Donald Trump? Blah, 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 blah. And then turning those questions and not even, not asking the hard pointed questions of like, hey, you're a California girl. How does it feel to be representing a country where you're not allowed to criticize the state? What is that like, for you? And then her saying, like, I think at one point she said something along the lines of like, oh, I don't know too much about it. I don't do too much research into it. It's like, come on. We're like, now we're just into, bullshit. So,
Well, I think that the main thing is, like, it's always that we say, or supposedly, that sports and politics are not the same thing. They're not like, one of the rules of the Olympics and the World Cup and all that actually in FIFA in general too, in soccer, that you cannot involved in politics. If you are, like, if there's a country that involved in politics, they will take it away.
What does that mean? Like involved in
So
politics?
let's say if there is a country, like if the government is involved in choosing a team or making rules or something like that for the team, they they are in the um, they're suspended.
Oh,
If they are involved in, and the whole idea of the sports and the Olympics in general, and is to bring in the nations together. It's the first time that you see one of the most amazing pictures I've seen was when North Korean and South Korean athlete together, in one picture. So that's the idea of it. So I think if we go into address politics, and this is exactly what we are just saying before about the hockey team, is like, don't involve politics in it. It just simply sports. Same thing with the hockey team, same thing with the the players.
I think you're making a good point. It's sort of I have to like kind of check myself where, yeah, on one hand I'm saying like, here are these journalists trying to get the athletes to discuss politics and that sucks. But yet, I want you to ask those questions to Goo over there. And I think, from my own experience, I think what I'm responding to is just all of the Chi-Com pro-China shills, just talking shit. And then I'm sort of dealing with those assholes and thinking like, maybe I'm turning some of that energy onto, this athlete who, for whatever reason, for many reasons, is decided to ski for another country. So.
I wanna. While we doing this, I have to look for that video because I think there's something of the funniest thing ever that JD Vance said. I'm gonna look at it while we discuss something else if you like.
Yeah, sure. Well,
but yeah, tell me. I mean, we can continue with this. I just think she's a great role model. Even the way she responded to criticism is not the same as other athletes. She wasn't arrogant. She wasn't anti-American. I would have a problem with that, but she wasn't really.
I got to read our mutual friend Mike Pesca wrote a little bit about, not necessarily about Goo, but about the media's response and interactions with her. I think it's worth reading. It's up on his. I think he wrote it for the Free Press, and it's on their Substack. Something I want to talk about. So it snowed. I think the city, this time around, New York has done a much better job actually shoveling the stuff out. It seemed like, there was a way to get volunteers, I think, paid up to like $30 an hour, to shovel. And obviously people were making the jokes about.
This is how you know that you're not an immigrant. $19 an hour. I know you don't.
Oh, I thought it went up to 30. No, okay. No, and obviously all the jokes are going around about, needing to show like forms of identification. So it's a lot harder to, get a shoveling job than it is to vote in New York. But I think there was a good point to be made about, the shoveling jobs are keeping people who are unable to get identification away from having a shoveling job. And I just think just in general, no matter what anyone thinks about whether or not you should have identification to vote, I think it obviously is in everyone's best interest to be able to have identification. So I think there should be like people, even if you don't need ID to vote, there should be people out there trying to get people identification so they can actually do all the shit you need identification to do.
That is funny. I think I might have found the.
Can you share it? Do you want to present your?
Can you see this?
Yeah, let me add to the stage. There we go.
Yep. Can we hear it?
Yeah, just have to turn the volume up.
Yep. Great place. I would hope that they want to compete with America, who benefit.
You can hear it, right?
Yeah. Do you want to set this up?
No. So this is JD Vance talking about her. Let me.
About Eileen Goo. Okay.
Yeah, but he's gonna say one of the funny to me. I don't know. I think it's hilarious, but let's hear it.
I certainly think that somebody who grew up in the United States of America, who benefited from our education system, from the freedoms and liberties that make this country a great place, I would hope that they want to compete with the United States of America. So I'm going to root for American athletes. And I think part of that is people who identify themselves as Americans.
I never heard a MAGA say identify themselves as something. It's like identify themselves as Americans. There we go.
Now, in response to those comments, Gu saying in part, quote, so many athletes compete for a different country. People only have a problem with me doing it because they kind of lump China into this monolithic entity and they just hate China. Gu will have an opportunity to claim her 6th Olympic medal on
which we know that she did. But I think for for him to say identify as American, I don't know what that is. Like it's you are American, like, but I find it so funny. I never heard JD Vance say, because they always had the problem with the left saying I identify as this or I identify as that. For him to say I identify as American, just like that word and that phrase coming from him, it's just so funny to me.
Well, yeah, and this is probably definitely a subject for another conversation. This the idea of what does it mean to be an American? Because honestly, you're an immigrant. My dad is an immigrant. Our friend Boris is an immigrant. I consider you guys you're 3 of my favorite Americans. Sure. And I think you guys really, I'm talking about my dad. Yeah, Mike, he's a guy. But I see within you guys values that I consider American values, and I'm like, you're right on. These are my 3 fellow Americans. Meanwhile, there are people who have born here, raised here, been here for generations, their families, and I'm like, I don't fucking consider you guys American.
I agree with you. That's why America is an idea. It's the same thing, and that's it always was a place. Back in the day, when people escape other places, it's supposed to be the dream, but that doesn't mean that you can criticize or cannot do, and that's what we do, which you do a great job with as well. But you're 100% right. Being American is not just being born here, even though it's much easier with ICE. Try to say that to ICE when they take it. Like, being an American is not, shut up.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me.
But that's why it makes you even, but I do think that people that lived somewhere else or grew up somewhere else or born somewhere else have more advantage than, especially if it's somewhere where it's harder, we don't have a lot of liberties. It's like, because you appreciate it more, while people that don't.
Yeah. So I know we're running out of time, but have you been watching have you been participating in any snowball fights in the city?
I have not. I've seen I live in Williamsburg. There was a big snowball fight in McCarran Park, but I did not go. Somehow I feel like I'm gonna be the target. So I don't know why.
I know you're not as fast as you used to be, and you're a soccer player, so you're going to be trying to kick the freaking the snowballs instead of throwing, or you're going to be throwing to 2 hands overhand.
and it's also, it's not like ice is I don't know. It's like you need some. I was never like an ice kind of guy, so snow and ice is just like not my sport. I don't ski as much as What about you?
Well, just I did a little bit of shoveling today because I'm out in New Jersey. For some reason, the snow that we've been getting out where I live, it's terrible for packing. You can't pack a legit snowball, which sucks because my kids wanted to make like a snowman and have a snowball fight. We weren't able to do it. So all of my I've been living vicariously through everybody who are having snowball fights, and the latest thing where I'm getting into arguments with people or over the snowball fight that happened in Washington Square Park, which looked like fun until I saw a bunch of a few police officers getting pelted with snowballs. And it's so obvious that they were not part of the snowball fight, right? And that's the thing too, like the way that people can look at the same footage and then come away either honestly or dishonestly with with a different narrative. It's like, look, these officers obviously weren't the type who were like, yeah, let's have a snowball fight, kids. Yeah. And they weren't kids that were having the snowball fights. They were grown ass men. You know what it's like in Washington Square Park.
Well, that's what I meant when I said like I'm going to be the target. I don't want to go there because I feel like I wouldn't be participating yet. I'll be having all the snowballs on me. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's this is the beginning of the disrespect of and a little bit aggression. When you get your aggression in a physical way in somebody that doesn't want to participate. That's why I like the one here in McCann Park, because it's like there's borders. If you're in here, you'll be part of it. If you're not, you're not right. Part of it. So, no, I agree with you. I didn't see the footage, but I can imagine, especially to watch a Square Park is, there's a lot of things like that.
It's a mix of, various people of people of various, mentally disturbed degrees.
Yeah.
And it's something where, like what you described McLaren Park, and I think I saw some footage of it. I saw people like doing like sledding and the snowball fight, and it was awesome. And you know what it was? It was consensual. Everyone there was a part of it. And what I'm seeing and the argument that I'm getting into with people is, I can't believe the way civilians treat police officers. And not like, oh, you got to get on your knees and bow to the police officers. But when I was growing up, you don't fuck with police officers. You don't put your hands on a cop. You don't throw shit at a cop. And I've been living with this whole, for the past, I'm about to be 44 years old. I'm under the understanding if I put my hands on a cop, we're going to fight. It's going to be a fight. So you have these people putting themselves into what I think a really bad situation, and then trying to play it off of, oh, it's just a snowball fight. It's like, I know you didn't see the footage, but there's footage of the one cop. He turns around and his whole face, his eye it's all red, because it's very easy to get ice into a snowball and to be tossing it at people. So it's like people want it all these ways. They want, they want the police to be this, violent, evil force that's keeping people down, but then they also want to fuck with them without any retribution. And it's like, look, I don't fuck with cops. I don't fuck with grown men. I don't cause any trouble. I'm trying to, keep my head on the swivel and stay out of trouble. And I think it's a smarter way to live. I don't feel like getting my ass kicked or worse.
No, I agree with you. It's, again, if the cops do like a, stop working one day, or, went on a strike for a couple of days or something, it's going to be crazy. And I think, again, back to like when we were talking about Trump calling the hockey team at that moment, is not about Trump. It's about the president of the United States, So now you have the cops who represent, law and order, There's a lot of them are awful, and I bet you're not going to throw anything at the awful ones. Yeah. You're probably going to only throw it at people that are not going to react. If one of them came your way with a gun or whatever, you're going to stop right away. But whoever is going to tolerate, and this is the problem with anybody that want to be, a tough guy, or like, it's like they only do it to the people that are going to tolerate it, and they tolerate it usually because they're stronger than you, but they just want to keep the peace, But it's obviously there's some horrible things that some of the cops did, and I think they should be more regulation to investigate and stuff like that. But the majority of cops is like, they represent law and order, so you cannot disrespect that, or your own rights is going to be taken away someday.
Yeah, and just I kind of describe it for people who ride bicycles in the city, and I used to ride a bike in the city. And when you're on a bicycle, you're in a very vulnerable position. You're not in a car, and you're riding with all these cars. So you have to be extra careful in what you do, because you might be right. You might have the right of way on that turn, but you get hit by a car and you're fucked. You know? So it's one of those things where I was right, but I'm messed up. And, it's like, really keep that in the, in the back of your mind. You might be right. You might be righteous, but you could still mess up and really, ruin your life.
And that cop that was hurt, if something was happened to the people that throw in, like if somebody like attacked them or steal them, the first thing they can do is run to this cop for help, So I think there's two difference between attacking, a symbol of law and order just because it's a symbol of law and order, or people, help people accountable that did something wrong. Like if a cop did something wrong, that's the time that for you as a person to shine and spread the word, to go protest peacefully, whatever you want to do. But to take it on everybody, it's kind of like people like go to a comedy show and don't laugh and come to your show and like attack you. It's like, you're not funny. It's like, I didn't even say anything yet. It's crazy.
That happens way too much.
That was me yelling in the back. I'm sorry.
So, Hatem, where can people find you? Good people. Where can good people find you? No bad people.
Well, I mean, you can always go to the FBI website. They know exactly where I am at any given moment. But Hatem NYC, that's HATEM, like hate, and then M NYC. You can find me anywhere, Twitter or Instagram or whatever. And also you can always find me with Lou. We do a lot of shows together. So he's a funny comedian. I produce his shows, and
yeah, we have some stuff coming up that I'm looking forward to announce once we make it official. Right. All right, guys, that's been the Lou Perez Podcast and the Live from America Podcast. Bye.
Good night.
End the recording.